05 Foxtrot 1916. Suppose you were to blink on this dull, rainy Sunday morning. In that case, you could easily miss that you had just passed a British Army barracks hidden away in the sleepy, picturesque Cornish village of Pultowan, 27 miles from Penzance. Tucked away behind the tree line for the last 3 years, you would find 167 Regiment Royal Engineers, the Spartans, quietly going about their specialist business of learning how to build airfields and bridges, and then how to efficiently demolish them. However, these days the loud bangs were mainly watched from a classroom on a screen, as the British military as a whole had gradually reverted to a peacetime footing after the long periods of fighting in Northern Ireland, Iraq, Afghanistan and Syria due to the decimation of many units through savage defense cuts. Subsequent governments had adopted what some critics dubbed the Switzerland mentality, i.e. leave us alone, and we won't bother you. So a typical tour of duty for a young Royal Engineer would be building roads and airfields in Africa or any part of the world as part of the British government's recently formed UKH, United Kingdom Humanitarian Military Force, during the regiment's time there. The commanding officer, Colonel Driscoll, worked hard on community relations with the locals, and the two groups got along pretty well. The 4 pubs in the village certainly cashed in on the goodwill. As an unwritten rule, one pub, the Rusty Tractor, became the domain of the locals unless a soldier was given a personal invite. There had even been a wedding in the summer between a sapper from Partington Barracks and a barmaid from the Iron Chair, and all had a great day, and there was no trouble. The nearest the locals had come to seeing an armed soldier was the ceremonial sword that the commanding officer wore on his uniform, which had been polished for him and put in place by his orderly. 18-year-old Sapper Watson had been posted to 91 Armored Engineering Squadron 6 months earlier and was still finding his feet. His father wanted him to follow in his footsteps and join the Royal Navy as a submariner. Still, Billy got seasick easily and was terrified at the thought of being in a tin can under the sea. Plus, he would never have dared to tell his father that he didn't like the Navy uniform. As a child, he played with toy soldiers and tanks after joining the local Army Cadet Force at 13 to appease his father. Billy began to look forward to drill nights on Tuesday and Thursday when he could dress up like an actual Royal Engineer. Plus, the annual camp was the highlight of his year. It was quieter than usual in the barracks this week, as 25 Squadron had gone on adventure training in Bavaria for 2 weeks, but Billy Watson didn't mind. He was living the dream. Although very homesick at times and due to his small stature and very softly spoken accent, he became a target for some squadron bullies. The shy sapper shared a 2-man room with a 24-year-old from Newcastle, a regimental boxing champion and one of the fittest men he had ever seen. Geordie MacDonald took Billy under his wing, and the bullies left him alone when he was around. The problem was that Geordie had gone on the adventure training, so he would have to fend for himself for a while. That was the plan anyway. Billy was on a signals course all day, learning all about the radios he would use in the field, and he didn't mind, apart from it being Sunday. He wanted to learn more, but really wanted to join Geordie in operating the 30-ton armored utility digger, known as the Saber-Tooth. He had a poster of one on his wall in his room, unlike the standard topless girly posters on most of the lads' walls, which were all removed on the orders of the CO after he decided to see for himself where his soldiers were living. The bullies had ripped it down a few times and called him a weirdo, which he found bizarre, as undoubtedly it's better if you liked being a soldier and especially a sapper. So he planned to finish the course, go back to his room and iron his uniform for his guard duty in the morning. Do his homework. His instructors gave him skip the cookhouse food and get some fish and chips in the village. Maybe he would have a couple of lagers in the pub and then go back to the accommodation, play on his Xbox and get a good night's sleep. But he missed Geordie and was worried about being beaten up. Maybe he would ring his mother later on his mobile. Sapper Watson. What frequency have I just entered into the radio? Sorry, Corporal, I didn't hear it correctly. You didn't hear it correctly. The instructor shouted, causing Watson to jump out of his skin. Are you fucking deaf, Sapper Watson? And you lot shut up laughing. I never gave anyone permission to laugh, did I, Sapper Watson? Have I wasted my precious Sunday teaching you? No, Corporal. Right when the class has been dismissed, you will stay behind and clean the classroom windows. This might sound boring to you, Watson, but these radios can be the difference between living and dying. Now pay attention. Sorry, Corporal. Buck, can today get any worse? Billy thought. He didn't think his corporal was allowed to use language like that. His counselor, Captain Seymour, said anyone using foul language and being aggressive should be reported, but he was not going to report the corporal. He thought the corporal was right, as he was not paying attention. But he wondered if they would be allowed to shout and swear in a war zone. Horseshoe Transport Caf A Senjoling STO Cornwall. The Sons of Eirinn still used an ASU active service unit. This tried and tested system had worked so well over the years for the IRA and other Republican terror groups during the bitter armed struggle against the English. A foreman team that did not know each other and would refer to each other only by a designated number and, as such, could not, even under torture, betray their fellow freedom fighters. This particular ASU comprised of 3 men and 1 woman. The female was a 33-year-old fiery red-headed Welshwoman consumed by hate, Susan Murphy, number 4. Her father was stabbed to death outside a pub by a British soldier in Brecon when she was 14. She never came to terms with her dad's murder, and at the age of 18 she moved to Belfast and worked as a waitress in a city centre pub, where she met her future husband Sean Murphy, a chef and a ruthless terrorist with a S.O.E. Please like, share, and subscribe. Read AA McNally's book Sons of Eirinn, Operation Celtic Jihad.